Hey, everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to helping employees become self-employed. This show that we're going to do today is another one of our Beyond the Void episodes, where we let the business stuff take a little bit of a backseat, and we talk a little bit more about some of the social issues that are going on in the world today. So, if you're new to the show, we have a couple of different show formats. We've got some Q&A shows where we will answer questions that people have emailed into us or messaged us about. We have some guest episodes where we'll bring on other self-employed guests and let them share their experiences of how they started their businesses and things that worked for them and things that tripped them up to try to save you that pain. And then we also just have some general business shows where we talk about business and we talk about self-employment and mindset type things to be in the right mindset for everything. This Beyond the Void episode, as we said earlier, is where David and I let the business stuff take a back seat and we talk more opinionated stuff about some of the social issues that are going on in the world. So with me, as always, is David Hilton.
Mitch, buddy.
Dave.
It's been a long week. It's only Tuesday. I've said that on 6
Tuesday
freaking
here.
Episodes.
Yeah.
And it's only Tuesday, and I'm exhausted.
We hit it hard early, so by the time Tuesday's over, it feels like you're almost like, what day was it?
Oh, fuck.
Right.
You know, Marcus came in here dragging, too. He doesn't look too good. I hope he's not too sick. You okay, Marcus?
I'm okay.
He's soft-spoken. I'm okay.
He's hurting.
He's here, though. Hey, you know what? We talk about this in the business stuff.
Hustling and grinding.
Yeah, we talk about this in the business stuff, you know, a lot like off-air about, man, when you don't feel good, guess what?
Shit still needs to get done.
Yeah. And if you can power through, now listen, sometimes you're sick and you can't do it.
Yeah.
But if you can and you're doing it, that just shows your dedication.
Yeah.
So props to Marcus.
Yeah.
For,
if you're passing up on work because you got a little cold,
you may not make it. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to power through.
Yep.
And he's literally got the stopwatch out, I'm sure, and he's counting the minutes. He's like, okay, so.
Yeah. So I'm going to lie to these guys
and
tell them.
59 more minutes, and I'm getting the fuck out of here, and I'm going home.
I'm going home.
I'm going to have some chicken noodle soup. I'm going to feel better. I love chicken noodle soup.
There you go.
That's my favorite. No, but I'm good.
You good?
I'm good. I'm great.
Good.
Good, better. Good, better, great.
Well,
what are we talking about today?
We are going to talk about...
We're talking about transgender bullshit today.
Transgender bullshit and women's rights.
Well, we're really talking about women's rights.
And
that's what we're actually talking about.
Yeah. And all of the different factors that go into that. So we'll probably even talk a little bit about Disney by the end of this. So...
fucking Disney, man.
Dave's a little bit more fired up for this one.
I am fired up, and I'll just jump in. I have a daughter. It drives me insane. Marcus has a daughter. We've talked about this stuff before, and I know it gets under his skin.
Yep.
When men hold down women, and I don't mean physically, but when they hold down women, it drives me nuts.
Yep.
You know, and I've got 2 sisters. So before I had my daughter, it drove me nuts then.
Yep.
You cannot take advantage of women in the way that transgender men specifically are taking advantage of women.
Mm-hmm.
We've had these, the women's rights marches, and we've had, the women's right. We have the right. We want the right to vote, and they've gained all of this ground, in moving forward in this country, especially in this country, which is translated to all over the world, and then we're just going to be like, okay, nope, that's over. Guys that want to be girls can be girls, and we're going to let them come in there and take that away from you.
Right.
What the fuck is up with that?
Right.
You can't do that. That's what you and Marcus were talking about earlier about bullying.
Right.
This is exactly what we were saying. I wrote it down. I don't remember what it was.
There are some people out there that will push so incredibly hard for change in a certain area that they end up becoming the person that they are trying to eradicate. And so like you see it with bullies, where people are so anti-bully and so anti-bully and so anti-bully that they actually end up becoming bullies for the anti-bullies. Like, and so you'll see that on a lot of fronts. And that's like pretty apolitical. You'll see it on the left, you'll see it on the right, you'll see it everywhere, where somebody is so passionate about a certain thing that they end up kind of becoming the problem that they were just trying to resolve.
Yes, and it's just ridiculous, And I'm not saying I have nothing against transgender people,
right?
Nothing. Okay, if you're transgender, it's fine, but when you start taking away other people's rights and other people's passions and other people's hard work because you want to force yourself into this other area, and that goes with anything, then it's wrong.
Right.
Okay? And you can't go out there and pretend like you're some kind of freaking hero because you're standing up for No, you're stomping on other people to lift yourself up.
Right.
Okay? You can't do that.
Right.
And it's gender dysphoria is what it's actually called, and it is a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay? But you cannot use that as an excuse to put other people down.
Right, right. I mean, and you're gonna see it. Well, go 20 years ago. Granted, society progresses over time and everything else. But put yourself 20 years ago. If there was somebody walking around and claiming that they were the sex that they aren't, that person would have probably been placed in a mental institution.
They would have got psychiatric help.
And they would have gotten psychiatric help.
It's a mental disorder.
Right.
It is. Gender dysphoria is a mental disorder. Psychiatric.com, I pulled some stuff off earlier. Their definition is clinically significant distress or impairment related to a strong desire to be another gender. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay? But what they don't tell you is, this stat was KHN.org, 94% of people grow out of gender dysphoria. It's a little kid thing.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what this is a whole other deal, the Don't Say Gay bill that they signed in Florida, which has nothing to do with gay people.
Has nothing to do with gay.
It is protecting little kids' rights to just grow up.
Yeah.
And just learn things on their own with their other little kid friends without us doing this to their little brains and saying, no, if you think you're a girl. Look, man, we knew when we were little kids, like a boy would come to school with a skirt on.
Right.
Or a tutu that he got from his sister.
Well,
no one ever...
And at that age, you're licking trees, and it's perfectly okay to go lick the bark off of a tree at that age.
But don't go up to that.
7.
Don't go up to that kid and say, you know what? You've started a new diet.
Yeah.
And you can be a tree licker.
Yeah.
No.
What? Right.
No, that's what would happen when we were kids.
You're just weird at that age.
Yeah, you're just weird.
Weird is normal.
Sometimes you play with dolls as a dude, and it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's fine.
Right.
But you can't, if a kid plays with a doll one time, the government can't come in there and say, okay.
We now have a new gender.
We have this boy wants to be a girl, and if the parents don't deal with it and don't take him to get hormone, we're going to take... Come on.
Right.
What are you fucking doing?
Right.
It's unbelievably stupid. And they talk about, people that are actually born with it. So males that are born with it, it's like 0.005% to 0.014% of males that are born have this gender dysphoria. And in women, it's 0.002% to 0.003%. And that's from psychiatry.com.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so now we're going to make policy over people that have a disorder and that it affects less than 1% of the population.
And now listen, that's with kids. And so when they think that there is gender dysphoria when you get older because they actually think that 0.6% of adults identify as transgender, which doesn't equal to the numbers that I just gave you because they think there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Somewhere, obviously it's hard to poll children.
Right.
And then, but even say that the 0.6% of adults identify as transgender is a real thing, which, like we said, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you're transgender, if you want to be transgender, if you think that if in your brain you have actually decided, I want to be a man, or I am a man, or I am a woman, no one cares.
Right.
But like I've said before,
nobody cares at all.
If you start stepping on other people because of that, now it's a problem.
Yeah, if you're going to use that platform to put other people down, that's a problem, right?
Yeah. You cannot.
I look at it a lot like tattoos, right? How many kids that are 18 to 25 years old go out and get a tattoo and then end up regretting it later. Tattoo's permanent.
A lot.
Right?
Tattoo removal's a big business.
It's a big business, right?
It's a big business.
I mean, look at like tribal.
Oh, man, it
Tribal
was so popular.
tattoos.
Do you remember the barbed wire?
Oh, yeah, you get barbed wire.
Man, when Pam Anderson got that barbed wire on her left arm, dude, everybody had barbed
got
wire.
it.
Everyone had one barbed wire.
You'd get tribal.
It looks so stupid.
Or you'd get like Asian characters, and they were supposed to say something.
They were supposed to say wisdom, and it was soup.
Yeah,
or it was chocolate.
Who knew?
Or
what,
it was
like nobody even knew what they actually were, right?
Not back then, no.
But at that time, at that moment, you were passionate. You wanted to do it. You paid money to do it. You knew it was the right. You knew it was the right thing to do. And here you are, 5 years later, paying to get it removed, or you're covering it up. You're wearing a sleeve.
You're covering it up.
Something, right? You're doing something to cover it up because you realized, hey, maybe when I was in my teens or early 20s, I didn't quite have it all figured out like I thought.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. 94% of those kids are growing out
of it, right?
And
so
listen,
that stat there is talking about like adolescence,
Yeah.
and here we are talking about like teenagers. But still, there's a lot of shit that I did when I was a teenager that I just thought was the right thing to do, and now I know it ain't right.
And I understand that. So all those numbers I gave, if you added those all up and they came out, guess what? They don't work.
Right.
Okay, none of that math works because they say 94% of people grow out of gender dysphoria, but 0.6% of adults I get it. Okay, so before you start texting in or sending me Facebook crap, I get it.
Yeah.
Those are studies from legitimate places that I've written down in the research that I've done, just to prove the point that it's a very, very, very small amount of people that are transgender. Does that mean that they're not legitimate? No, but I keep coming back to this thing because we're in this, this COVID pandemic bullshit. If it's for the greater good for all of us to be vaccinated, isn't it for the greater good for all of us to separate men and women's sports?
Yeah.
And not not bow down to the 0.6% of the population that have that issue? Right. I mean, where's the line at?
Right.
Which one do you want? You can't fucking have them both.
Right.
What's it going to be?
Right.
And it literally drives me insane when I see... So that Leah Thomas, who was William Thomas before, okay, and he was a Penn's men's swimmer. Everyone, if you're listening to this show, you've seen it. I mean, there is one girl that cannot swim for that college now,
right? Because
this dude thought, I'm a girl now.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Yeah.
You couldn't make it as a men's swimmer. Okay. Right. Now, and I'm not saying that he couldn't make it and that's why he switched. Maybe he is transgender. But you can't just keep doing that. You can't hold that one girl down to lift yourself up.
Right. And there's nobody that's going to deny the genetic and biological differences from somebody who used to be a man to somebody who used to be, or that's now transgendered to a woman, right? They're genetically superior. A male is physically, genetically superior to a woman in some areas. Not all, right? But you go strength, and you go speed, and you go power, and all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, there's a reason that they are split up, is because it's an unlevel playing field.
Yeah, it's like Serena Williams. So she did a warm-up match. Serena Williams is the greatest women's tennis player in the history of mankind.
Yep.
She is a badass. If I played her, she would kill me.
Right.
Okay? She did a warm-up match. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was ranked like 200th in the world or something. Okay, he was a nobody.
Right.
All right? So they did a warm-up match. I think he beat her 5-1. They played one. It was amazing. She won the one. He's a nobody. He's a loser. She is the best, and he still killed her.
Right.
Except for one set.
Right.
Just because he's a male. Listen, it's not bad to say that you're a woman, or bad to say that you're. We're just different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My wife.
That's why they're separated men's and women's sports. That's why you don't see co-ed sports on some things, is because there is a significant difference between there.
They have women's football leagues. I know two women. You know one of them. I'm not going to say her name, but I did her work for a long time.
Yep.
She played on one.
Yep.
She's awesome. She's a stud.
Yeah.
If they lined up against men, they would get killed.
Yeah.
It's just real life.
Yeah.
It's just what happens.
There was a mixed martial arts fighter who was a biological male that signed up as a female, and there was a female mixed martial arts fight, and the biological male like impaled the female, like broke her skull.
Ugh.
And it's like, yeah, that's gonna happen when you do that. That's gonna damage is going to occur. Great damage is going to occur. Like disfigured her face. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a post that said when guys go through the process of becoming a girl, because I guess it's like a lot of estrogen, it's like the whole process.
Hormone or testosterone.
This post pretty much said that biological advantage that men has, they no longer have it, or it's dumbed down to a point where
they're trying to say that. However,
the problem is, so they have hormone blockers, is what it is. But once a boy goes through puberty, all of those muscles have already activated. All of that stuff has already happened. So even if they're blocking those and pushing those, and they're trying to say the 1 year, you've got to be on them for 1 year.
Right.
Dude, the damage has been done.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're already yoked.
And if we're going to ignore the facts of like lifetime of testosterone, why won't they allow testosterone injections in sports, right? Like you can get kicked out of sports for injecting testosterone.
Yeah.
Right. So right there, their argument kind of cancels itself out.
Yeah, so if a woman wanted to be a man and they're just loading her up with testosterone, so do you ban her because she had
performance enhancing drugs?
I mean, what are we doing here?
Right.
And we get back to the purpose of this show is really just
it's women's rights.
How freaking ridiculous it is, one. Yeah. And second is women's rights. Right. These women have worked so hard to get to where they are.
Right.
Do not knock them down a peg or two because you just want to be this way.
Well, look at Rachel Levine.
Or are this way. Even if you are that way, do not push women down to be next to them. It's not how it works.
Rachel Levine.
Which one's Rachel Levine?
She is a government official. She's a 4-star general.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay. Trans male. Well, I guess trans female. Formerly male. Now
was a dude.
Woman of the year.
Did he? Well, what was the other one? The Kardashian.
Right.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Caitlyn Jenner. Thank you. And listen, Caitlyn Jenner is one of. First off, oh man,
Olympic medalist.
She is a Republican. Okay, Olympic medalist. Also says that this is complete bullshit.
Will be the first one to tell you that trans athletes have no business in sports.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Yeah.
If they want to do it, have your own league.
Yep.
That's what they have to have. They have to have their own league because it's unfair to women.
Yep.
Okay? Now listen, when we talk about that, so all the women that want to be men and all the men that want to be women and they just are in this thing, all the men are going to win. Okay, that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and that's what's happening right now. Rachel Levine. Biological male, woman of the year.
That's why I brought up Caitlyn Jenner.
Right.
She got woman of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
that took an actual woman away from being woman of the year.
Right.
I get it.
Right. So they're working so hard to include all of this stuff that now they're actually like we need to separate men and women. We need to give men or give women a chance to rise and shine. Well, what were they not rising and shining well enough that we had to like send a man in there to do it? Like under the guise of transgender, like that. It just makes no sense. The long term of this is they're trying to confuse you between what is right and wrong, and a society that is easily confused and the lines that were really blurred between what is right and what is wrong. If you start to lose your bearing there, then you become more easy to control. And so that's the long term play with all of this. Is the government is trying to maintain a position of control over the population. And so if we can confuse everybody on what's right and wrong, that becomes substantially easier. But
And that's
we have a voice in that. We have a significant voice in that. We vote with our dollars every day. And there are a lot of organizations out there, NCAA, for example, with the swimmer,
yeah.
right? You can stop funneling your dollars to the NCAA.
Yeah, you can stop giving donations to your alma mater.
Right.
You can say, hey, look, and especially big donors. Now, listen, most big donors of colleges are liberal anyway.
Right.
But there's a few that aren't. You can say, hey, I'm not giving you this money because of X.
Yeah.
This is why, because I think it's horse shit.
Right.
I have a daughter that's about to be going to this school. Now she's not.
Yeah.
And now I'm not giving you my money.
Right.
Not only tuition, no more donations. I'm out.
Right. And Disney. We talked about it earlier that we'd probably bring it up.
Yeah, Disney.
Disney is making. I mean, they've it's come out in the headlines that Disney has their executives have openly said that they are shooting to have over 50% of their characters represent an LGBTQ or minority party.
They had
minority group.
They had one of their board members literally say in a taped discussion, I am happy that I'm indoctrinating kids with my beliefs.
Yeah.
They're fucking children.
Yeah.
Let them grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It just drives me insane when I hear
her actual words were not so hidden agenda.
Yeah.
She's able to plug in her not so hidden agenda.
They're children.
Yeah.
So before when Disney would put out their movies, 70s, 80s, 90s, okay, there was no politics.
Right.
There was no religion.
Right.
There was no anything. They were just innocent cartoon movies that were to entertain and inspire children.
And that already did a remarkable job bringing in people from all races.
Yeah, they already did. And now
all races.
And now you're going to say, okay, we've got all this audience, so now I'm going to indoctrinate your children with my agenda. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. So how do you fix it? Well, you
stop going to Disney.
You cancel your Disney Plus.
Yeah.
You cancel your trip to Disney.
Oh,
you cancel your Disney cruise.
You know what? Let me bring this up. It hurts me. So my daughter is just turned 9.
Yep.
And now listen, we were going to take her. We've been talking about it for the last couple of years. COVID bullshit. I am not taking her to Disney now.
Right. So I'm
hoping she's old enough that she's she hasn't really been asking.
Yep.
I'm not taking her.
Well,
and it hurts me because I know she wants to go.
In the last Beyond the Void episode, we were talking about some businesses that make decisions, and it's not really like that's a business decision. It doesn't affect whether I buy their product or not, right?
Yeah.
However, this is not a business decision. Their decision there has a direct effect on my children. Right? Now, thankfully, my kids are old enough to where they've kind of cycled out of the Disney phase.
And they're boys. It's a little different.
A little bit different.
They don't want to be princesses.
Right. But mine have cycled out of that. However, there are millions of people that haven't, right?
No.
And more being born every day.
Yeah.
So that is not only a business decision, but it has a direct effect on the end user. And so... it would be different. Like last time we used the example of Carhartt. Carhartt was making the vaccine mandatory for all their employees. Well, that doesn't affect the quality of their product, and that doesn't affect the fact that I enjoy their product, so I'm going to use their product. It's going to make it more difficult for them to find employees.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a challenge they are going to have to overcome that doesn't affect me as a user of their product. Disney, on the other hand, I don't want my kids going to watch Toy Story 17 in a couple of years, and now we've got, bisexual characters doing bisexual things, or we've got trans characters doing trans things, or whatever the case may be. That has no place in that age group of children.
No, and that's the whole point, is that let the kids grow up. When they get older and they can make their own decisions, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, but don't try to force my child into accepting they're already confused enough as children.
Yeah.
Okay, they are super confused. If you sit down with a small child and ask them actual questions about, hey, what did you feel about this? What did you feel about that? Sometimes their answers don't make any sense.
Right.
Okay, because they're confused and they're trying to... they're trying to filter their emotions.
Yep.
You know, my mom passed away, and my daughter's 8,
Yep.
and I'm asking her, you know, okay, you know, this has been 3 months ago. What, you know, how do you feel about that? Just the blank look on her face because she couldn't.
She doesn't understand it. Yeah.
She couldn't process that. This is the same exact freaking thing.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Let the kids grow up on their own, and when they are mentally stable enough to process information, then we can have those talks
Right.
about transgender, about gay, about whatever, why Russia's bombing you,
Right.
all of those things. But when they're little, you cannot indoctrinate them.
Right. Their
with
brains aren't
bullshit.
developed enough to do that.
No.
Right.
Let us do that stuff at home
Right.
and quit. Knock your fucking shit off.
I had shared something on my Facebook recently.
You guys are going to get canceled.
What are they
think
going
so?
to cancel? We don't fucking have anything. We have no advertising.
Yeah.
We make no money from this
We
show.
aren't bought by anybody, so
Yeah,
it's kind
there's
of hard
no-
to cancel us.
You can't cancel something that don't make no money.
Yeah.
Right?
So
But
the
you know,
U.S.
They could probably
Department,
try to figure it out, though, right?
I don't. They'll go to the extent.
Yeah.
so the U.S. Department of Justice, the Office of Sex Offender Sentencing, Monitoring, Apprehending, Registering, and Trafficking, uses the following definition of grooming.
You mean grooming children?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grooming is a method used by offenders that involves building trust with a child and the adults around the child in an effort to gain access to the time alone with him or her. In extreme cases, offenders may use threats of physical force to sexually assault or abuse children. More common, though, are subtle approaches designed to build relationships with families. Boy, if that doesn't exactly
gonna say-
spell out Disney.
Do you mean Disney movies?
Right.
Is that what you mean?
Right.
I know what Marcus is saying. They may come down on us.
Yeah.
They're going to sue us.
The offender
take
may
our
assume
nothing. We could take our fucking $4.
the offender may assume a caring role, befriend the child, or even exploit their position of trust or authority to groom the child and or the child's family. These individuals intentionally build relationship with adults around a child or seek out a child that is less supervised by adults in his or her life. You mean like while children are watching movies and their parents are in the other room?
Yeah, Ben Shapiro said something the other day. He was like, hey, okay, so listen, parenting's hard. I got 2 kids. I think he said he had 2 kids.
Yeah.
He has 1 or 2 kids. Sometimes you need a break. And you used to be able to put a Disney movie in,
Yeah.
like Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs.
Right.
You used to be able to
Frozen.
put it in.
Frozen.
Okay. You got a little break. You got to reset. You got to do what you needed to do. Say you had a Zoom call for work.
Yep.
And you got it done. Now you can't even freaking do that.
Right.
You're telling me, and he was saying, and look, I love me some Ben Shapiro, so I'm not trying to take credit for anything. You know, he said, now I have to pre-screen every freaking show that they put out.
No, you don't. You just don't buy it.
Well, and then I thought, you know what? I'm just not even going to freaking jack with it. And
No.
you put that post on the other day, and I put on there just Disney boycott.
Yeah.
And I might have got a little crushed on a few things. But I don't care. Disney
Yeah.
boycott. That's
Yeah.
where I'm at. And,
Right.
I mean, and tons of people are. And I love how, you know, they have Disneyland in California and then World's in Florida. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But Disney World is the big one,
Mhm.
you know, the first one. And they think they're going to go to war with Florida. Really?
Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck, dude.
Right.
You know, there's one thing you can't fuck with, and that's people's kids. And when you start screwing with people's kids, they don't care. They don't care if you're right. If they think you're right in the back of their mind, but you're messing with their kids, they don't care.
Yeah.
Marcus,
So a lot of
dude, right?
the
It's over.
topics that
That's
we
over.
talk about usually are going to kind of center around the fact that is it in the best interest of America to move forward in that direction, right? And this is definitely not.
No.
Because it eliminates competition, right? When you do transgender in sports, transgender in female sports especially, it totally decimates competition. And without competition, we go back to the uncivilized days, right?
You know who's going to win those battles?
Who?
Parents with kids,
Oh, yeah.
Republicans with guns.
Well,
If we're going to move back to uncivilized bullshit, which
Right.
is, it's crazy how they always want to push, we're being more civilized. No, you're not.
No.
You're trying to be more civilized, but you're pushing us backwards.
Right. Right. So, I mean, competition drives the world. It drives business. It drives athletics.
It drives everything.
It drives everything, right? Without competition, literally everything falls apart. I mean, there was a space race back in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
A race to get to the moon, race to get to orbit, all of this stuff. Like literally competition is what drives the world. And so this inclusivity push is in direct contradiction with competition. The moment we try to include everybody, and the easy thing, participation trophies and blah blah blah, right? Well, that's part of it.
We don't do that here in Missouri,
right? But the moment you try to include everybody and you negate competition, guess what? All the boats begin to sink. Because what is the point in even trying anymore if everybody is going to get a crack at the top?
This is the big healthcare discussion. Okay, so everyone wants, world healthcare, like UK and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, government healthcare, blah blah blah. All of the major advancements that happen in healthcare, as far as like cancer research, kids' health research, all those things, they come from America. Do you know why? Because American healthcare is for profit. And
right.
What does that do? That motivates people to be the best
right.
and to get the shit out there.
Yeah.
So the second that you are just go to, whatever, guess what?
Yeah.
That research stops.
Yeah.
So all of you leftist dipshits that think that, government healthcare is going to be the way, it's not. Now, is there a balance? Yes,
yeah.
There is a balance. And no one has been able to figure that out.
Right.
Medicare it is kind of a balance. When you're 65, you can get that free health care, and there is something there that no one has figured out, but there has to be competition, especially in healthcare. I don't know why I took that side tangent.
No, that's all right.
Well, but it's just the truth.
Well, it is the truth. And so a very similar circle to that would be like the fuel from the 70s. Right, the fuel, fuel shortages. Right, what spawned all that was the government was trying to put limits on what people could charge for fuel. Well, when you put limits on what you can charge, then all of your for-profit businesses are going to struggle with producing enough,
or quit doing it.
And so then you don't have enough supply, and so that's where all these fuel shortages came out, and those long fuel lines and everything else. So
Toyota Corollas that got 30 miles to the gallon. You would only do 45 miles an hour.
But
were they Toyota? I don't remember what they were.
That's what happens when you eliminate competition. When you eliminate all of that competition, everybody loses. There's not a single winner in that program when you eliminate competition.
No.
Imagine, literally just last night, the NCAA championship was on. I didn't watch it, but it was on. Imagine if they went into that going, both teams are going to get a trophy at the end. So it doesn't matter what the score is. We're not actually going to keep score. We're going to put it on the scoreboard.
Imagine what would happen if they said, okay, every player on the team gets $100,000 if they win.
All of a sudden, people are going to try hard.
Even a little more competition,
right,
is introduced, and the outcome could have been completely different. Competition breeds success.
Yeah,
it always does. If you have a plumber move in next door to you over here that's got his van outside.
Yeah.
But guess what happens? All of a sudden, Mitch is a little more motivated.
Right.
He may go over there and talk to that guy. They may be buddies.
Right.
But every time something happens, just a little bit more spur in your ass to, hey.
Right. Well, and
I got to beat this guy.
And I mean, we run into it all the time in the business world, right? You're competing for the best talent. You're competing for the best team. You're competing for the best position in the marketplace and all of that kind of stuff. Competition is what drives success.
Stay on that mic, Mitch.
Yeah. Setting my drink down. Competition is what drives success. Without competition, you have no success. You have complacency.
Let's bring that back to what we were talking about transgender.
Mm-hmm.
So there's competition, right? So if now they just say everyone, all of these leftists get their way, and now it's just, you know what, men and women, it's just we're going to combine it all. Why would women even participate?
Right.
Why would there be any scholarships? Why would there be any? There wouldn't be.
Right.
Okay. So just to tie it all together, knock it off.
Right. Well,
what are you doing?
It goes to the equal pay for equal play type of thing, right?
Right.
Well, as a professional athlete, you are part athlete and you are part actor, right? Not to say you're faking it, but you're an entertainer.
You're an entertainer. You're a performer.
Right.
When Tyreek Hill catches a ball and he's literally on the 50 and trust me, it pains me that he's no longer a Kansas City Chief.
Right.
And he literally runs by two guys and is running at another guy who can tackle him, but is so fast that he just gives him the peace sign.
He gives him the peace sign before he passes him.
As he's running towards him and then past him.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's entertainment.
It's entertainment.
Right.
And he's a performer, and he knows. And all those top elite athletes, they know.
Right.
Okay. Peyton Manning and Eli Manning are geniuses. I mean, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing all these great commercials. They're doing all this. I mean, come on.
Right. So, the equal pay for equal play initiative is unfair not unfair. It's unrealistic.
Yeah,
because they think
unrealistic.
I play on the court for the same time as a man. I should get paid the same as a man. No, you should get paid for performing.
And this is against the women's rights movement.
Right.
And I know that we are twisting this stuff all around.
You remove competition from like finances in women's sports and you have complacency.
Yeah.
And who wants to watch complacency?
Nobody.
Right. So if women want to, like, I hate to say it, if women want to figure out how to start being paid better, they need to find a way to entertain better. So
I will bring up women's soccer. So our national women's soccer team, holy shit, they're awesome.
Right.
I watch every game.
Yep.
Every game that I can watch, I watch. You know why? First off, they're the best.
Yep.
It's entertaining to watch. Okay. Now, if I turn on soccer and watch Japan, and Japan's a great team, watch like Japan-Brazil women's team. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't have a dog in the fight, so it's a little bit different, but it's not as entertaining as watching even just an MLS game.
Right.
But if USA Canada's playing and that competition is up and they're raring to go it is just as entertaining.
Yeah.
And they need to figure out a way for that to all be as entertaining. Well, I mean, because Canada's just as good as them.
Right. It's entertaining to you.
I shouldn't say that. This close.
It's not entertaining to the masses, right?
Right.
And so you can't force that entertainment on the masses. So you can't just arbitrarily ask for equal pay. Like you see it in the WNBA. So those women actually make a high, it's beyond equal pay. So those women in the WNBA.
You mean per people that are watching?
Yeah. So and
not
per
total,
revenue.
Not total, but per person watching.
Per person watching,
they make
per
more.
Revenue capita of
they
the
make more.
WNBA.
Yes.
The players make a larger percentage of the revenue than in the male players in the NBA.
Yes, they do.
So you can't do the equal pay for equal play thing because you aren't as entertaining as the male players. And
let's not get off track because we're trying to, we're talking about transgender athletes taken away from that. So Mitch's point there is they're already on an uphill battle.
Right.
Okay. Now, when you start introducing males into their sports, it makes it even tougher on them.
Yeah.
Okay. They are already on this trajectory and they have made so much progress and they're moving up. And these transgender athletes are just trying to beat them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they weren't good enough against it. Listen, and when I say that, I'm not doubting this William Thomas as a swimmer. I couldn't go out there and beat him.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not as good as him.
Right.
All right. Now, if we're in a UFC fight, that's different.
Yeah.
I can't beat him as a swimmer.
Yeah, but it would be like arbitrarily some professional. It would be like Tiger Woods all of a sudden deciding I'm now an amateur because in my heart and in my mind, I just know I'm an amateur.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go sign up for an amateur tour.
Don't even say that. Say he decided he was going to be a woman.
Right.
So if Tiger Woods, even at, I don't know how old he is now, like 45, Marcus?
Going to go crush a 400-yard drive?
Is he 45? Is Tiger Williams?
Tiger Woods. He's up there. Let me check.
Marcus's last name is Williams.
Right.
Tiger Williams.
LeBron.
I golf too.
Go take LeBron.
Yeah. If LeBron all of a sudden decided he wanted to be a woman,
right.
Or is everyone going to be like, okay, let him go play with women's basketball in the WNBA? Fuck no, they're not.
Right.
He'd kill them all.
Right. And what would happen? The league MVP
would be LeBron James. Yeah. Is that fair?
46.
40.
Tiger Woods is 46.
He's 46?
46.
I'm 40. I guess I shouldn't be that surprised.
Right.
Tiger Woods is a badass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
He's the best. He's the fucking best.
Yeah. You can't
LeBron is
can't-
37.
He's only 37.
Yeah.
That dude looks 52.
He doesn't sleep.
Is it
good at
just
night.
the basketballs? I mean, just as
So I
hard
can't
on
tell
you
I can remember being a senior in high school.
when they were talking about him.
LeBron would
Well,
have
now
been a
he went-
sophomore in high school
Well, he
or
went
a
from
freshman.
Well, he went from 17 or 18 years old to straight to the NBA.
Right.
So I forget that
Well,
he's.
I remember being a senior in high school. He would have been a sophomore or a freshman, and they were already talking about him.
oh yeah, they were like, look,
It was like a
whenever he-
2-year conversation. Of
whenever
him.
he wants to go, he's
Yep.
going. That's what it was. He's
Right.
gonna go and he's gonna be the best.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because in some sports it just doesn't translate that way. And why hasn't it in the NBA lately? You had Jordan, you had Kobe,
You
you had who else? Derrick Rose. You had all these great NBA players, and they knew they were like, hey, these guys are going to be the best.
I'll tell you why.
How come that hasn't been lately?
You know why?
Why?
Money.
Oh, you think so?
I know so. Because the contracts are getting so incredibly high now.
That they're not trying to hype them?
You don't have to go in as this, I'm going to be the best to have ever done this
To make a ton of money.
to make a fair living or make a good, excellent amount of money that I need to make.
Yeah.
And so you've got guys that are doing above average. They're doing top level, but they're not in a league of their own above everybody else.
Yeah.
Because a league of their own above everybody else and high level, like top
Yeah.
5% of athletes, still pays the same.
Yeah. Well, I guess Cousins was going to be one of the big names. And then he was hurt the first year. And then,
Yeah.
some of those big guys get hurt.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about the MLB strike that was going on. Or not strike, but the
It was a
whole-
lockout.
the lockout and
The contract ended, and then they were just trying to get a new one.
Yeah, so
They-
one of the guys
dude,
that I
for-
work out with,
Game day's Thursday.
I know.
2 days.
one of the guys that I work out with,
3:10. We watching over here.
uh,
Mitch doesn't watch sports, by the way.
I have an
he's-
option to get some opening day tickets.
He's a. You're not going. Why would you get him?
I might go.
You ain't gonna go. You don't like
Take
baseball.
an afternoon off.
You don't like. You do like Chiefs.
We couldn't
games.
podcast on Thursday night if I went, but that's all right.
Why?
Anyway, by the time the game gets over, it'd be late. Yeah, I guess we could do it. It'd just be a late podcast.
A 3-hour game would be 6:10.
Yeah. It'd be 7 o'clock before start.
It was 7:00 tonight.
Well, that's because Marcus was late. He's not feeling good. But
I blame you.
one of the guys that I work out with was talking about one of the big anchor points. Now I'm kind of speaking out of my ass here. But
Of course you
one
are.
of the big anchor points of that lockout and the pause from the players' half of things is they were trying to get the younger players into the money earlier.
Yeah.
Because by the time they could finally get into a position where they could be into the money, they were already on the downhill side of their career.
Yeah.
And
And that has to do with it. So, Bubba Starling
uh-huh.
and I can't remember the other guy's name for the Royals. Same thing. So these teams were these low budget teams like us.
Right.
They were keeping these kids as long as they could in the minor leagues because then they would have control over them longer.
Right.
And they were trying to get that out of the deal.
Right.
I don't know how we got on the baseball contracts.
Talking about keeping competition up and
Thank
why
you.
don't you see incredibly stellar athletes today is because the contract values are so incredibly high.
And we were talking about basketball.
Yeah.
There'll be another. I mean, we're due for another stud to roll through.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the guy's name that plays for the Bucks? Giannis. That dude is a stud.
Yeah.
Antetokounmpo.
Antetokounmpo.
He is a stud.
Yeah.
If he played in a big market, I mean, they would just be all over him.
Right.
He's a stud.
Yep. So
How
ultimately,
are they going to do this year? They're doing good
They
now.
won last year.
Yeah. How are they doing?
They're number one in the East.
I like him. Dude,
Yeah.
he's awesome to watch.
Yeah.
He is a beast.
yeah.
I don't know if he's ever going to, that first year that they made a run at the championship, it was like if he wins one, like right now, right off the gate, shit, watch out.
Yeah.
He could still be great.
Right.
I mean, he is great, but I mean, we're talking all time is
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll be curious to see what happens with Tyreek Hill's stats. Tyreek Hill's got some impressive stats, and he was on pace to be a Hall of Famer. But
He has all Hall of Fame. He has top 5 Hall of Fame stats through his first, is it 5 years? Or
Right.
6.
I understand.
But yeah, he's going to.
But it takes 2 halves to be
Yeah.
a receiver, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a QB to get you
Yeah.
that ball downstream.
Tua can't throw him the ball.
I know.
Tua
So-
can't throw the ball from the
Grant-
laces, and I mean,
Grant and I were.
I hope he
throwing
does
a ball
good because
last
I
night.
like Tyreek Hill. I think he's one of the greatest.
Grant and I were out throwing a ball last night.
How many ducks do you throw? I've seen you throw.
No, I'm pretty good.
Are you with the little kid football?
Yeah, well, yes. it's with his football, but I can drop it right in the basket, right? So I told him, I said, "Go run it. You be Hill. You go run a fly route, and I'll be Tua." And
You just
so
throw
he
it in the
takes
ditch?
off, and he's like 2 houses down the street, and I just threw it halfway to him. And Grant's like, "What the hell, man?"
Just threw it over the ditch over here. Like, oh shit.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Oh my god.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
So back to women's rights.
Back to women's rights.
So if 0.6% of the population is transgender,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, women's rights are more important than 0.6% of the population.
Absolutely. And
What do we have? I mean, what do you have to do for people to realize that?
Right.
I guess is my question.
Right.
I mean, what is the holdup? What's the problem? Why are people so blind to it? I guess is my question to you.
they're blind to it because inclusivity seems like a good idea.
It's like socialism seems like a good
It's
idea.
politically correct.
Socialism and what was the word you used?
Inclusivity.
And socialism are the same word.
Fairly close, yeah.
Yeah.
So inclusivity seems like, if you're in a group of people and you see an outsider, you want to include them, right? If you are one of the coolest photos I've ever seen in my life, I love it every time I see it. It's like it's at a crowd, like at a lawn seats at a crowd, and there's a guy
Like
in a
sandstone? Like
yeah,
Okay.
like a big amphitheater.
Yeah, like amphitheater.
And-
it's like nice seats, and then you go to the grass, and it's the rest of the hippies
yep.
smoking weed in the top.
Yep. Well, here's a whole bunch of
I've
hippies.
been there.
Yeah,
I've
here's
been
a whole
there.
bunch of hippies, and they're holding up a guy on a wheelchair.
Oh, nice.
Okay, everyone else is standing there with their arms up, and they're screaming, and they're yelling and doing their things, and there's a guy in a wheelchair being held up by everybody. Why? Because he can't see. He's in a wheelchair, right?
Yeah.
You put him down on the ground, he can't see shit. So everyone's like, no, we're going to include you. You get to be part of the experience too. And this guy is obviously disabled in some way. His legs are very thin, so it's obvious he's been, paralyzed for a long time.
Which is awful.
He's rocking out there with the devil's horns and everything else. I mean, he's just enjoying his concert, right? So inclusivity it's nice in theory.
And then there's 4 people behind him that can't see.
Well, right.
Because they're freaking holding him up, or
Right.
12 people.
Right. And then
So one guy's happy and 12 people are sad, and everyone's like, yeah.
right. So you do have
Really?
a little bit of that, but also, I mean, maybe they're moving him around, and hey,
I don't care.
If I
It's
gotta,
still horse shit.
if I gotta miss
Let
5
the-
seconds of a concert while he's getting
Let
crowd surfed by
let
me,
the guy go up and be on the side of the stage and let him watch from there.
right?
This
Right.
is what we're talking about in this. When you're standing on other people's shoulders, or you're standing on top of someone's neck to lift yourself up, it's wrong, and you
Right.
can't do it.
Right. And so that can be kind of hard to navigate, right? Because
Of course
some people
it can be. Of
some
course it
people
can be.
look at that photo like I do, and they see joy, right? There's a guy who probably couldn't see,
Sorry.
and now they're helping him out. You look at that photo, and you see 12 people behind him who now can't see because he's in the way.
Yeah.
So that's the crazy part with our society, the way it is right now, is social media allows information and opinions to travel incredibly fast. And also, there are bright sides and dark sides to almost everything out there. And you can't fail to act simply because you can see both sides. You've got to make a decision, and you got to march, right? So the idea of inclusivity, the easiest way to navigate when that problem comes across, the easiest way to navigate that is, does it support competition or does it stifle competition? And if it stifles competition, then it needs to not be in place. It's that plain and simple.
I would give another example of that. If everyone in the scenario is not 100% equal or fair, then it doesn't work. Just like you said. So if one person's being lifted up, but it takes away from 10 people, that's not fair. That's not equal.
Right.
Okay, you can't. That doesn't balance on the judgment scale.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work.
I'm sure you've seen the photo. It's the difference between equality and equity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
a lot of CEOs have those up in their office.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so it used to be we'd push for equality.
Yeah.
And now they've changed it, and they are pushing for equity.
Yeah. Well, it's equality.
What equality is, so the picture that I'm referencing is like a 6-foot fence, and there are 3 different heights of people that are trying to see over the fence.
Yeah.
Well, they each have a wooden box, and the tall guy stands on his wooden box, and he can see over just fine. The medium height guy stands on his box, and his eyeballs barely peek over the fence. The short guy stands on his box, and he still can't see over the fence. Well, that is equality. Everybody has an equal-sized box, right?
Yeah.
Now, equity means same outcome, equal outcome.
Yeah. So
equality is equal input.
So the middle guy keeps his box.
The middle guy
and the
keeps
other
his
two
box.
switch their boxes.
They take the box from the tall guy
Yeah.
and give it to the short guy simply because.
You know what they call that?
Well, they'll tell you.
Socialism.
Right.
It's socialism.
Right.
That's what that is.
Yeah. That's equity, right? So
Yeah.
that way, equal outcome. Everybody can see now, right?
It's socialism.
So on the surface, inclusivity.
Yeah.
On the surface, you think, okay, well, in that scenario, I can still see, so I don't mind. Now, change the box to a stack of money.
Yeah. Well, it's I knew where you were going with that. It's just like, so if I go out and I work super hard, I mean, I'm 40. I've been working since I was 14. My first job I got was 14. I was washing windows. Now listen, 14 for a little while, odd jobs.
Yeah.
16 when I got my car, boom. I mean, I was working 20 hours a week.
Yep.
Graduated, 40. I mean, it was almost instantaneous.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
there's just this. I'm not worth $40 billion. Okay, but I've been working that whole time. Does that mean I deserve $40 billion because I've worked that whole time and Elon Musk didn't work that whole time and he's... No.
No, not at all.
No.
Yeah.
Okay?
He chose a different path. He took on more risk.
Yeah, those were my decisions.
Yeah.
And, and my work ethic, and that's where I am. That's where I got.
Yeah.
That's what I deserve.
Yeah.
As people would say. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm a person and I've been on the planet as long as everyone else.
Yeah.
I should be getting what this guy gets. No.
Right.
You shouldn't be.
Right.
If you decided that at 20 you were going to drop out of college and go live in your mom's basement and work at Pizza Hut. I worked at Pizza Hut, by the way.
Right.
And I worked at Pizza Hut and I decided I wasn't going to go get a job that paid anymore.
Right.
I was happy with doing this. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just kept working at it. You kept working at it. That's what you're doing. And then you bought a $110,000 house and you got a lot of problems with it. And that's your life. You decided to do that in a free enterprise system.
Yep.
Don't be mad because your buddy decided, I'm going to start, I'm going to use Mitch. My buddy started a plumbing company. And now that son of a bitch is making, this is not Mitch, that motherfucker's making $150,000 a year. He owes me.
Right.
Because he's making that money and we've both worked the same amount of time.
Right.
No.
Right.
That's not how it works, dude.
Competition.
Right. If you want to make that money, especially in America, if you want to make that money, you can make it.
Yeah.
The only thing stopping you is you.
Yep.
It's unbelievable how many people use it as a crutch.
Right.
Or, well, I talked to a guy today. I do HVAC and plumbing. This guy has done HVAC. He's 61 years old. Mm-hmm. He's still roughing in houses. Okay? We got into an argument today because he literally told me he was a socialist. And he was all mad because billionaires don't pay enough taxes and this, this and that and blah, blah, blah. And he says to me, he's like, well, I just, working here, I don't make enough money and I shouldn't do this. And I was like, dude, you're telling me you've been doing this for 40 years?
Right.
For 20 years? For 30 years? Yeah. So why didn't you just go get another job for another company doing the same thing that was
Right.
You expect me to change my whole life? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You have to make a move. You have to do what's best for you. This is America.
Right. We're not here just to suck up what life gives you.
There is nothing but opportunity in this country. Get off your ass.
Yeah.
And, I mean, dude, he was so offended.
Yeah.
And I told him some of my story. Like, dude, I came from, my parents were poor.
Right.
Okay?
I remember the duplex your dad lived in when I met you.
My dad didn't have air conditioning in that farmhouse until after I moved out. So when I moved out of my dad's house and moved in with Mitch was the first time I had air conditioning in like 7 years. Okay, this is 2000.
Dave does not still live with me now.
Yeah, I do. That's Danielle.
Yeah. When Dave and I moved out of our parents' house, we got a duplex together.
Yeah.
We lived in a duplex together for
and it was the most
almost
crazy,
a year.
It was the most crazy train wreck I've ever been a part of, and it was great.
One of these days, we'll talk stories about what all went
No,
on
we
in
won't.
that duplex.
No, we won't.
You're right. That's probably better.
No, we won't. But but it's like, I didn't come, and I was just telling him my story. I was like, dude, he knows where I live. And
Yeah.
I was like, he was like, oh, your parents. I was like, no, dude.
Yeah.
No. My parents were poor. I said, and the only thing Janine's parents ever gave us, so they paid for her 2-year education, which was great.
Yeah.
Her first car that she had when we got married, she owned because of them. That was it.
Yeah.
The rest of it was us working fucking hard.
Yeah.
And realizing, okay, you know what? The American dream is still possible.
It's absolutely.
And you can go get it.
And
don't use your situation as a crutch.
Right.
And this gets back to what we're talking about here. This guy saying, I'm a woman now, that's a crutch.
Yeah.
To lift himself up.
And it all surrounds around your mentality and your ability to keep marching forward, keep challenging yourself, and keep seeking better for yourself. If you do those things, you will have an amazing life.
Listen,
if you do those things, you won't be confused about your gender either, because it's complacency. It's being happy with yourself. And when you're unhappy with yourself, then you start trying to blame society for your problems.
Yeah. And
right?
and listen, if
it's no different than that guy. He's unhappy with his situation. So he's blaming.
Oh, he was blaming everybody. He was blaming the government, everyone he ever worked for.
Right.
He was blaming fucking everything. It was everyone else's fault.
Right.
That's really the Democratic platform, is just blame everybody and don't take personal responsibility for your own actions.
Right. Right. Well, and what did he say about your scenario? Oh, it's daddy's money or mommy's money or whatever. Right. Like,
and I told him, I was like,
he
dude,
thinks it is.
Yeah.
Because he is so out of touch, he can't even fathom the level of work that it takes to get to that level.
Yeah. And
right?
I mean, this guy's taken, no one is going to even know what I'm talking about. So a 3-bedroom raised ranch home, he's taken a week to a week and a half to rough it in by himself, doing HVAC. When I was 25, I could do one by myself in one day.
Right.
I'm 40 now, and I can do it easily in 2 days.
Well, and let's be honest.
Okay, so
at his age, he should have probably started a company and he should be employing people,
or just went to
do
work,
all of it,
or just went to work somewhere where he could get into the service side, and wouldn't have to be busting his back every day.
Right.
Or just, and you know why he probably didn't go anywhere? Because he knew that they would fire him, because he wasn't putting any effort out.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. That's probably the deal.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's going to work just hard enough not to get fired.
But then
bitch about he does not get.
That's the
advancement.
complacency thing.
Yeah, complacency.
Complacency is, okay, I can be here. I'm fine. I'm doing this. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're 60 years old and you're like, oh, I didn't take personal responsibility for my life, and now I'm in trouble. What am I going to do? I'm going to be a socialist, because now I can be like, the government needs to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Well, guess where government money comes from, you idiots?
Yeah.
It comes from all of us that are working.
Yeah.
Him, me, Mitch, everyone that's out there working is paying taxes, and that's where that money's coming from.
Right.
And it's just it's like there's this huge disconnect between reality and what they think.
Yeah.
And it's just it's insanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally insanity.
Most definitely. So one of my plumbers, he thinks that I'm like independently wealthy.
You're like, dude, no.
And he like half jokes with me about it, but he's like, yeah, I mean, you live in that nice house and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's a lifetime of good decisions and good choices that have led to this.
First off, Mitch doesn't live in I would call Mitch's house a nice house in Missouri.
Well, it's a nice middle-class home.
Yeah, it's a nice
4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house.
Yeah.
So now in Missouri, this 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house,
you can get for a lot less than you can get for in California.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's different there. But, I said, well, it came with like a lifetime of decisions, right? I'm still with the same girl I married 15 years ago. We chose to stay together, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say marriage is easy, but we make the conscious effort and choice.
Does
to stay
Danielle
together.
watch these podcasts?
No,
because that girl's crazy as hell. It's hard.
We chose.
She thinks the same thing about you. I guarantee it.
we chose to have kids after we got married. Kind of old fashioned, kind of crazy these days, right? Now, baby mama and baby daddy is thrown around like it's just common natured stuff.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And I'll give you another one better. So when Mitch and Danielle got married, he lived in a 1,000 square foot house that was, I could fit 3 of them in the barn that I have now.
It was a 4-room house. It had 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a kitchen.
It was literally 1,000 square feet. It might have been 900.
It was 1,200 square feet,
It was 1,200?
Including the 1-car garage.
So 800 square feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a shack. No, when I say shack, I don't mean it was a bad home. It was a shack.
It was a good quality home. It was just tiny.
It was tiny. It was a tiny home.
Yep.
Now they call them tiny homes, and it's all this, the rage.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a small house that Mitch lived in. But they lived there for a while.
I lived there for 10 years.
So that they could amass some wealth so that when they moved out of there, they could get something nice that they could be in for a long time.
We moved straight from that house into this house, and we were still house poor for a year.
Yeah. And people think, you own a business and you have that. No. Dude, it's regular life.
I owned this house for 12 years before I started the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's just a regular house.
Well, and another thing too, like to his point is like, I don't have crazy expensive hobbies. I don't go out drinking all the time. Right? So,
don't judge.
Drinking's expensive alone, but a lot of the people that go out drinking all the time usually have a DUI or 2 that they've racked up, right?
Yeah, can't be doing that.
There's $20,000.
We talk about that in episode 3 about your friends and what you should be doing if you're going to be prepared to be successful.
Yeah, and so there's little decisions that you make every day that change the outcome of your life dramatically.
Yeah.
And it's all about the habits that you take and everything else. We're going to do an episode in the future on exactly what it takes to turn your life around. And I can guarantee you that your life will turn around within 3 or 4 months if you do this. So we're not going to talk about it now. We'll talk about it in the future. But most people won't do it. I'm going to say 90% of people won't even do it anyway, because they would rather just take the life that
complacency.
Yeah, the life of complacency and just take whatever comes to them. But we're gonna do a show. We'll probably record it next. About
on Thursday.
Yeah, about the law of averages and what it takes to beat the average. So,
interesting.
Is that pretty much all we've got to talk about women's rights and transgender? And,
you know what? I have one more thing I want to say is, as the father of a daughter,
right,
I am 1,000,000% for women's rights.
Absolutely.
Okay, I know.
I'm 1,000,000% for transgenders' rights as well.
Unless they're stepping on women. Okay,
that's right. Exactly.
You took my point. That's where I was going with that.
Yep.
I know gay men and women that I'm friends with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they think it's horseshit.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not dragging them into anything, but especially a couple of the women I know that are that play sports, that are diehard women. They're just diehard gay women, and they are, and they don't want men stepping on them.
Right.
Okay, and what they don't want is, and I'm not speaking for all of them. I'm only speaking for a couple that I have personally talked to.
Mm-hmm.
They do not want everything that's happening with transgender men and women moving into sports. They do not want that to affect what they've worked so hard to get.
Right.
You know what I mean? Their
Right.
rights and their equality that's been on this trajectory, upward trajectory for the Spotify listeners, as
Right.
Mitch says. You know, they're on that upward trajectory in gaining some sort of equality. They don't want this to be affecting them because a few idiots want to step on women's rights.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, to be frank, I try to be kind of, the longer the show goes on, I try to be, you know, politically correct, but the longer it goes, the more I realize it. It's that I'm not. It's fucking bullshit is what it is.
Yeah,
and
it absolutely is.
It's just this entire attack on everyone to say, it's an attack on 300 million people to save 10.
Well, and
if you want to talk socialism, that ain't how it goes either.
right.
It's just it's complete horseshit. And when you want to, if you want to really fire some shit up when it comes to division and the way people act within small groups and the way the country is between left and right, things like this are what cause division.
Well, and that's exactly why they're doing it.
Yeah, I think so too. And we haven't really been on a whole track of, we think the government's doing this and we think these groups are dividing us this way. And we think,
right.
But in my heart, I think that's what is happening. And as soon as the ones of us that have a freaking brain can step outside of ourselves and realize, okay, this is what they're trying to do to control us.
Right.
If we can group together, left and right, those of us that have those same views, and realize these rich idiots that we've been electing for the last 50 years are screwing all of us.
They're injecting division into society.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I'm not saying right or left. They're all screwing us. Mm-hmm. They're all voting for freaking raises every time it rolls around.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not voting for term limits, are they?
Right.
They're the ones that are trying to hold their foot on our neck all the freaking time. And this is just another example of that. They're taking one little thing and they're saying, okay, nope, we're going to do it. And they're just driving that wedge a little bit farther. And they're like, hey, if we can divide them, we can control them.
Right.
Because these are going to be doing what these people say, and these are going to be doing what these people say.
We'll get them arguing so much about transgender and BLM and everything else that they won't even know we just voted ourselves in a raise.
Yeah, they won't even know that we just paid ourselves, $400 million this year to do fucking absolutely nothing while COVID's going on.
Right. Right.
And I don't want to be beating on young kids, but when I was a young kid, I had no freaking idea.
No.
You don't realize till you're 30, you're 35, and you're like,
ignorance is bliss.
Oh, shit. And then the next kids that are 25, they're saying the same thing.
Right.
It's unbelievably ignorant.
It is. It is.
I've made Marcus go way over our time. He's like back there. He's like this. Hey,
waving us off.
Dipshits, you've got to stop.
He's like, I'm ready to go home. I don't feel good.
Yeah.
So, guys, that pretty much wraps up our show for today. Again, stay tuned for some more stuff coming in the future. This episode was a Beyond the Void episode where we get to be a little more free and a little less businessy with everything. So if you liked it, give it a 5-star review if you're listening on an audio platform. If you're listening on YouTube, give us a thumbs up or tell us in the comments what you liked or didn't like about it. Give us your feedback.
Hit the notifications. It helps us a lot.
Yeah, hit the notification bell on the YouTube thing too, so that way you get the new and latest, greatest notifications as soon as we upload them. So until next time, guys, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
See ya.
Peace.